Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We start tonight with politics. As the election draws closer, the controversy surrounding tickets to a skating show continues to grow. Today, PC leader Ches Crosby suggested police might take an interest in the alleged misdeeds, but the Liberals say that just shows how desperate their opponents are. Here and Now's Garrett Berry has more.
Is it a case of serious government wrongdoing?
While it may seem to be a small amount of money, $1,500, it's actually a very grave offense, potentially.
Or exaggerated campaign controversy?
Right now, he can't talk about electricity rates, can't talk about health care, he can't talk about his own team today as we go into this election, so he has nothing else to do but throw mud.
The debate? Over an allegation that Liberal MHAs traded a government grant for tickets to a skate show. As the countdown to Election Day winds down, the heat over this controversy is turning up.
I'm just pointing out that I've looked it up in the criminal code, and accepting a benefit when you're a public official, whether it's a small one or a large one, is very dubious, and it can be a criminal offense.
I certainly paid all my own expenses, paid for the tickets, paid for the expenses of those that travel with me. There's absolutely nothing there. This is a desperate leader of the PC party that has nothing to talk about publicly except throw mud.
He says he's not calling anyone a criminal.
And Mr. Ball, I'll admit, claims he paid for his ticket, but where's the proof of that?
Rather, just asking questions. But isn't it suspect for the leader of an opposition to suggest slyly to the RCMP that they might want to investigate something the government did?
I think the RCMP, they're big boys and girls, as it were. They'll decide what they're going to investigate.
We did check with the RCMP. It said for police to even start the process of evaluating whether investigation is warranted, someone would have to complain. And so far, no complaints. So, no investigation. As for the Liberal leader?
But if you ask Mr. Brown, look, these emails seem a little bit suspicious here. Why were these emails exchanged? Have you asked him that?
I did. I've asked him all of that, and none of the money that went, that was part of that went to support the tickets.
He maintains it was all above board. Crosby's desperate for controversy, and the Liberals will win. Garrett Berry, CBC News, Bonavista.
Meanwhile, a Conservative candidate on the Burin Peninsula says it's inappropriate for Lieutenant Governor Judy Foote to schedule events in her former district during an election campaign. Today, Bill Matthews is accusing Foote of making an appearance in her old district of Burin-Grand Bank for political reasons, all to shore up support for Liberal candidate Carol Ann Haley, Foote's former assistant.
I think this is more about getting Carol Ann Haley and Mark Brown back into the House of Assembly to protect her daughter's job than about anything else. And I think it's totally inappropriate, and I take exception to the fact that she's come here and has been here for this duration. Why not wait until Friday then to do it, and then everything would have been perfectly clean and clear. To be here since Sunday into this area of the province in the middle of in the dying days of an election campaign is, in my view, is very suspect, and that's why I feel as strongly as I do about it.
Now, Foote stopped at Lake Academy today where she read to elementary students. A spokesperson for the Lieutenant Governor says she is, quote, very much aware of her constitutional role and her requirement to be apolitical, and that Foote has not planned any meetings or activities with any candidate from any party. Foote's office made the decision to speak at the school last week. The original invitation was sent to her in October.
Well, it was an absolutely gorgeous day out there today. Temperatures soared into the high teens. Happy Valley Goose Bay, the hot spot at 18 degrees this afternoon. Numerous temperatures in the teens. St. John so far has reached 10 degrees. Not anticipating any more warming as we head through the next couple of hours because we're losing that sunlight. But as far as the satellite goes, not a whole lot. We are starting to see the next system make its way up, edging that cloud cover a little bit further north. But as we head through the overnight tonight, we're going to see some increasing cloud generally just for the south. Those winds are going to pick up as well by the time tomorrow morning rolls around. Otherwise, sitting between 1 and 3 degrees above zero tonight. Those winds generally out of the south along the northeast coast. And then we've got Lab City sitting at 1 degree tonight. Light winds, slight chance we could see a few showers up through the northern portion of Labrador. Otherwise, skies should clear out, giving way to a beautiful day tomorrow again for Labrador. We do have a couple of watches in effect for the island, but I'll have all those details when I come back.
Oh, I'm loving it. You know, I love it because, you know, it's so nice for, you know, them to come in and help out the community, right?
A good haircut's hard to come by, and you'll find out why some folks are getting them for free in St. John's today. I'll have more on Here Now.
Well, the town of Pauline says it's 1 year away from generating its own energy. Council plans to build 200 solar panels and a small wind turbine to power its public buildings. The town says the idea was partly inspired by Muskrat Falls and the looming possibility that their monthly bill could double or triple by 2022. Going green is expected to help save the town about $25,000 a year. Eventually, Pauline hopes to get all 177 households off the grid. Well, in other news tonight, the mother of Nevaeh Denine says she's disgusted that a photograph of her deceased daughter is being used as part of an anti-vaccination campaign. A manipulated photo of the young girl is being shared on Facebook along with the caption, quote, "My vaccines gave me cancer." 9-year-old Nevaeh lost her battle with neuroblastoma less than a year ago. This after starting what was known as Nevaeh's Lemonade Stand to support other families struggling with pediatric cancer. There's no scientific evidence that neuroblastoma is caused by vaccinations. Her mom, Holly Denine, says she has contacted a lawyer in the hopes the group doesn't use another child's image to support what she calls propaganda. She asks anyone who sees the photo online to report it. Well, back on the campaign trail, the NDP made promises for women this morning, but some of the items were not new, and leader Alison Coffin provided no specifics on how she would pay for those pledges. Coffin is calling for pay equity legislation, as well as adding gender and diversity to the criteria for appointments to the province's agencies, boards, and commissions. The NDP's platform includes $25 a day childcare, $15 minimum wage, and affordable housing. She says it's all part of the NDP's plan to support women. But when asked how those big ticket promises would come to fruition, Coffin pointed the finger.
Certainly, we've seen poor decisions made by the other parties. For example, spending $40 million on a canopy growth, which is a profitable industry, could very easily have been redirected into childcare or low-income housing or a number of other issues that could certainly address women's.
But that decision's already been made. So going forward, how would you take
There's a pot of $8 billion that we're allocating out. That money can be used to address women's issues.
And while Liberal leader Dwight Ball has visited Happy Valley, Goose Bay and Labrador West, Ches Crosby is the only leader to visit Sheshatshiu. The PC leader recently visited the First Nation, which happens to be where his local candidate works. Here Now's Jacob Barker has that story.
As the seasons change here in Sheshatshiu, the voting season is in full swing.
One of the big things that I'd like to hear about is the Inuit child inquiry. And there's other issues that like the road construction of the South Coast Road as well as the main highway here in Labrador, right? It's in deplorable condition.
Dwight Ball, who served as the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, passed the community altogether, and the word Indigenous only appears in the NDP platform a couple of times.
How you doing?
Shannon Tobin, the Lake Melville candidate, actually works for the Sheshatshiu First Nation. He took a leave of absence to run. On the streets here, he is known.
I'm only vote Shannon Tobin.
Okay, why is that?
Because he's really good to Inuit people.
Tobin brought Crosby to his workplace. The party leader got a crash course in the issues the minute he walked into the door of the band office.
We have a very high population of young people, and we have a lot of social problems, issues with suicide and gas sniffing, that kind of stuff, and it needs to look at it seriously because it's really damaging on our families and kids. And if the provincial's PC getting in, I think they should seriously look at it and see how they can help us with our problems, especially with the youth here.
Hi again. Good to see you.
Chief Eugene Hart took the opportunity with Crosby to highlight an important issue for the reserve.
Housing issue is not recognized and is not heard from the government. So I don't know what changes will you impact on that.
Crosby is critical of the Liberal government's decision to have the Premier take on the portfolio of Labrador and Indigenous Affairs. He says if elected, he will make sure that portfolio is held by someone from Labrador.
I got experience with the Northern Strategic Plan, which is exactly what this party put in their platform and is exactly what's been lacking with the Liberals for the last 3.5 years.
Shannon is a third-generation Labradorian. That gives him pretty deep roots.
Chief Hart did not go so far as to endorse his worker as a candidate. In fact, he says he has a good relationship with the provincial government right now. And though Ball didn't visit Sheshatshiu on his campaign, the chief pointed out he has been to the community several times as Premier. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Sheshatshiu.
Well, today, Liberal leader Dwight Ball renewed a promise to apologize to residential school survivors. Ball was responding to comments from a lawyer who represented nearly 1,000 survivors in a class action lawsuit. The federal government apologized in 2017, and at the time, the governing provincial Liberals promised a formal apology too. Ball says it's still in the works.
It's certainly something that I want to do. I've made a commitment to do that. So really what this is coming down to is make sure that all groups are working together for the timing and the schedule. So I'm committed to this. It's now is getting the date and the place that we can get an agreement with all the Indigenous leaders.
And you may soon see ATVs on the main drag in Corner Brook. A proposed bylaw change would allow quads to travel along the waterfront area and through downtown. The mayor says the city is missing out on a lucrative market that people touring the trailway on ATVs now have to put their vehicles on a flatbed and bypass Corner Brook. He says there will be speed limits and limited hours of operation to avoid any disruptions. The pilot project could begin as soon as June 1st. And back in St. John's, the Gathering Place offered something that many people consider a simple splurge, getting a haircut. The Gathering Place was transformed into a salon today. Visitors left with a free cut and hopefully a boost in confidence. Here now, Cease Hair pop by.
The first choice haircutters, volunteers, kept busy cutting, brushing, straightening, curling, blow drying. In the last 18 months alone nationwide, a traveling team has given away 500 free haircuts. At times, it's been emotional.
We do take some before and after shots of people, whoever, would like us to. And just looking at those, have just been incredible. Just heartwarming and overwhelming, really. People, you just change the way, not only the way they look, but the way they feel. They really feel incredible after a haircut.
And it was all smiles for the clients who jumped in the chair for a chance to look good and feel good. Today's total, over 100 haircuts, free of charge.
Feels a lot better than it did. Actually, I'm suffering with kidney disease, and this haircut made my day.
It's some hard out there when you get a really low income. And this is really helpful for everybody here today, because having low income is really hard to try and get some haircuts.
First Choice says it saw the need. For some with a low income, a good haircut is a luxury that's simply out of reach. Organizers of the free haircut tour say they'll go back to Ontario next, and from there, they'll go on to Alberta. Cease Hair, CBC News, St. John's.
We didn't know what the rules were going to be in terms of retention, all caused by government.
Angling and the election. Anthony talks to two outdoorsmen about salmon fishing and how to improve it. That's ahead.
It's the most competitive election in generations, and once you voted, who's going to win and what will it all mean? The CBC NL election desk breaks down the results fast as they come in. Live reports from across the island and Labrador. Analysis of what you, the voter, decides on election night, May 16th. For the most in-depth coverage of election 2019, turn to CBC NL. It all starts at 6 p.m. Island time and will stay with you on the air until you choose the next government. NL Votes 2019.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, yesterday we talked about moose as an election issue. Today, salmon, of course, a species that's had a bit of trouble the last few years. Let's talk about how the salmon's been managed. Maybe I'll start with you, Dwight.
Well, I've got to laugh. It's not being managed very well at all. We had a lot of problems last year. It was an absolute fiasco. We had a situation where the licenses, particularly for non-residents, weren't available till the third week of June. We didn't know what the rules were going to be in terms of retention, all caused by government, all caused by a rift between Jerry Byrne, our minister responsible for that department, and DFO. And as a result, I think the salmon are really taking a back seat in this election as an issue to what's going on for the next couple of days. And it's unfortunate because unless we care about the salmon, unless we do stuff to mitigate the problems that we're experiencing now, which is partially being done through an agreement with Greenland not to catch the large salmon off their coast, unless we do something now, the numbers are going to get lower and lower and lower.
All right, now we talked about moose yesterday, and of course, as with moose hunting, salmon angling is an industry for the outfitters, the people who sell equipment, people who actually need places to stay when they go salmon fishing. Barry, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's having a big, huge economical impact on those people that you just mentioned, as well as our residents as well. And you know, it is, as Dwight mentioned, it is a big fiasco of what's going on when something so simple can be so elaborate and so complicated, and it's made, and this is done purely by, I think, the government themselves, and they cause a big rift with everybody, with the catch and release people, the retention anglers, come from away groups like the Atlantic Salmon Federation, and this being the International Year of the Salmon. Then, and we have the Greek aquaculture program happening down in Placentia Bay, which could turn out, as we surmise it, to be possibly one of the big ecological disasters ever.
But I guess that's where politicians are torn, right? Because on the Burin Peninsula, they want jobs. People there seem to be very happy with aquaculture. So how do you balance your interest as anglers with unemployment on the Burin Peninsula and the potential that aquaculture brings?
Well, what's going to happen, of course, what they're forgetting, what's going to happen, are the recreational anglers that are going out now, staying in motels, hotels, spending money on gas, fishing gear, etc. You know, if your rivers are destroyed, there's no fishing. So that, to me, balances out somewhat against the number of jobs that will be created in the aquaculture industry.
All right, Barry, what has to change?
Well, I think it should be forget about the Greek aquaculture program altogether and have everything the way the world focus is shifting towards land-based operations, which is more economical, which will create more jobs in the long term, which will produce a much better product, and which will then sustain our rivers for future generations to be able to fish as well.
All right, well, listen, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking your time to help us explain moose yesterday, salmon today. We'll see if this actually comes up in the campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Appreciate it.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order your tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, if you missed it a little bit earlier, it was an absolutely beautiful day today across the province. And here's a look at the current temperature. Still looks like it's going to be a beautiful evening. Temperatures still in the teens across the board, except along the south coast, a little bit cooler in that onshore flow, generally onshore flow anyway. 10 degrees for St. John's, and then still 18 beautiful degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And as far as that satellite radar goes, you can see not a whole lot going on. So all that cloud cover that we did see this afternoon has gone away, and we are going to see some more cloud cover move in as we head through the overnight tonight. And that's ahead of the next system. And because of that, we do have a special weather statement in effect, and that's because mid-May snow potential. It does look like we could see some accumulating snow as we head into the evening hours tomorrow. And then Portabath, or at least the Rec House area rather, with those easterly winds as that system approaches, we're going to see some strong winds. So gusting upwards of about 110 kilometers per hour starting tomorrow morning. And then as that system continues to track a little bit further north, we get into that easterly flow, and you can see things potentially changing over to snow. Right now it's showing about 5 to 10 centimeters. We'll likely see that for sure in the higher elevations. Towards sea level, though, it'll be a really wet snow. So if that accumulation will be brought down a little bit. But you can see that easterly flow, and once we're going to start to see some onshore winds for the Avalon as well, and that's going to keep temperatures quite cool. So dipping from what we're seeing today into the single digits with that potential for some showers. As we head west, we're going to see warmer temperatures, so 10 degrees. That's because that rain will move in as we head towards the evening hours. South Coast, again, 3 degrees, and then towards the West Coast, 10 degrees in Corner Brook, up through Gross Mourne, 11. Bayvert Peninsula, I have in as 9 degrees. You could see some freezing rain with that system as well, at least a mix of some rain with that tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, as that system continues to track a little bit further north, we'll see increasing cloud for the Great Northern Peninsula, 9 degrees. And then for Labrador, another beautiful day. So thinking somewhere very similar to what we saw today, between 15 and 18 degrees, as we see plenty of sunshine, and those winds will be light yet again. So looking ahead to Thursday, this is what I'm thinking anyway. 12 degrees. So we're going to see a rebound as far as that those temperatures go. Still looking unsettled for the first half of the day with some peaks of sun. Cool for Port aux Basques, and then 9 degrees for Corner Brook, and then we'll start to cool down up through Labrador as well. So looking ahead to an early long weekend forecast, it doesn't look particularly great. As far as systems go, we've got a couple that will move through, which will keep the skies generally gray. Probably going to see some peaks of sun in the mix for the island, but overall this low pressure system is going to be offshore, which is going to keep things unsettled. It looks like into the beginning of next week. So just a quick look at the next 5 days. We've got 3 degrees tomorrow, then we start to rebound back into those double digits for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland. Friday, plenty of sunshine, and then we start to get into that unsettled. Again, still have some sun in the forecast, not anticipating that's going to be a total write-off, but still looking at that. As far as central Newfoundland goes, double digits right through Friday, then we drop down, even have that potential for some snow in the forecast on Sunday. That'll be towards the evening hours. And then for western Newfoundland, along the shore there, we're looking at temperatures dipping 12 degrees by Saturday, and then dipping again on Sunday. And then up through Labrador, enjoy the next couple of days, because, or at least the next day, it'll be beautiful. And then we dip down, potential for some flurries late Saturday, and then I have that in the forecast Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. Just a slight chance. It'll likely happen in the evening or morning hours, but still the chance nonetheless. So let's look at your forecast. I'll have your weather photo coming up in a bit.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, people often say that fresh air is good for you, and it seems it's also very educational. More and more scientists agree classrooms without walls have surprising benefits. Christine Birak takes a look at the value of lessons in the great outdoors.
All right, so everybody grab your maps out of the bins, please.
School's in, but these kids spend a couple of hours a day outside.
Hang on, your names should be on them.
They're heading to Mud Mountain, and there's work to do along the way. While most people think being outdoors is probably good for us, researchers are saying nature offers serious health and academic benefits.
What else lives in the swampy area?
A recent review of hundreds of studies found mounting evidence of a cause and effect relationship. Experiences in nature led to improved attention span, self-discipline, and physical fitness while reducing stress. Research also shows children with ADHD who take a 20-minute walk in a park can improve their symptoms similar to using a prescription stimulant medication. So how does free, accessible greenery do all that?
There are two different major theories as to why nature is good for your brain. And one of them is called stress reduction theory. So essentially it speaks to how humans evolved in nature.
There's also attention restoration theory, which says crowds, lights, traffic, and noise force our brain to constantly focus, diminishing our overall capacity to pay attention. Nature doesn't require that kind of focus.
Therefore, it doesn't tire out those powers of attention, it doesn't tire out your concentration, and it just lets you kind of enjoy and restore your brain.
Some doctors and educators say it's time to drop standardized classroom testing in favor of outdoor education for at least an hour a day.
They're being tested out here in this environment on a daily basis in a whole new way that even I can't tell you what the result is going to be.
Turtles, fish, foliage that is as big as us. What does it feel like?
Free.
Free.
These Ryerson University students meet up weekly at a local greenhouse.
It's the only one I see of that.
Research in adults shows just looking at trees or even houseplants can also lower stress levels. And the more you do it, the more it helps.
They connect with a sense of perspective, something larger than themselves, which can be really helpful.
Feel this. Natural settings also promote warmer, more cooperative relationships.
Peter, are you okay?
In conquering Mud Mountain, most of the kids at Gradale got dirty, but one got stuck. So they problem solved, even dug out his boots.
That's teamwork.
Simple lessons learned in nature can last a lifetime. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
I have no faith in anything that's happening right now when it comes to Muskrat Falls.
Well, the politicians may have promises, but voters don't always believe them. The uncomfortable truth people want the next government to tackle right away. Well, we are almost there. 2 sleeps before the people of the province vote. But as Here and Now's Megan McCabe is finding, those same people, especially younger ones, feel like candidates are ignoring uncomfortable truths, including how they're going to be able to pay their power bills.
For rate mitigation.
For rate mitigation.
Rate mitigation plan.
Rate mitigation. It's a fancy phrase, but what does it mean? It's supposed to be the plan to make electricity affordable. Our power rates are set to double when Muskrat Falls comes online, because as the cost of the project ballooned, the number of people who have to pay for it hasn't. Power bills have already gone up, and it's hard to find people who aren't feeling the strain.
Hi. I'm Sabrina.
24-year-old Sabrina Robinson is one of the people I talked to stressing about her power bill. She moved into a basement apartment in St. John's in October, but when the electricity bill hit $200 instead of the $100 a month expected, she felt it.
It's been a huge financial burden. You know, an extra $100 may not seem like a lot, but to somebody that has to, you know, worry about 3 pets to take care of and other bills and paying off student loan debt, that extra $100 is my groceries.
I talked to several tenants. They all say the same thing. Landlords are working to make apartments affordable, but there's only so much wiggle room, and landlord or tenant, budgets are tight and people are worried.
It's not great, especially if, you know, rates continue to rise. It's a lot of people can't afford it because there is a lot of people that are working minimum wage jobs here and things like that. So it's definitely rough for a lot of people. I'm in a similar boat to a lot of people that I know. So there's a lot of us out there that are struggling.
Robinson got a roommate to make things work, but she's not too confident in political promises to keep power rates from doubling.
That's crazy to me to think that, you know, electricity rates are going to be half of what some people are paying for rent.
We're already strapped.
Christina Rose isn't confident either. When the 28-year-old financial advisor was transferred to her hometown of Grand Falls, Windsor, she kept her 2-unit house in Mount Pearl as a rental property. Averaged over the year, the power bills are $225 a month upstairs and $140 for the basement.
Most people, their incomes aren't going up on a month-to-month basis and even on a year-to-year basis. So I've got fantastic tenants in both units right now. So if they have increased expenses, like the electricity bill, it could impact what they can afford on rent.
Like other landlords I talked to, Rose says she's just hoping to keep breaking even on her rental.
I have no faith in anything that's happening right now when it comes to Muskrat Falls and the cost of electricity to Newfoundlanders. I think that they can say that they've got a rate mitigation plan in place, whatever that is. They're not really publicizing what the consequences of that plan will be. Even if they do have something in place to lower the impact, I think it's inevitable that over time we're going to continue to see those rates increase.
The uncomfortable truth in all this, it's that no one who pays for power is convinced that whoever is in power after the election has a solid plan to make electricity affordable. And the cost of Muskrat Falls? That'll be an issue in the next provincial election. Megan McCabe, CBC News, St. John's.
They thought we were off our heads. They thought we were nuts.
Even their families were skeptical when they decided to start small businesses in rural Newfoundland. But these entrepreneurs say there is opportunity out around the bay. That's ahead on Undecided.
Hi, I'm Bailey White, and this is Undecided. We're here in Greats Cove today, population 127. It's a community that dates back hundreds of years, pretty old, but we're here today to talk about new opportunities, and we're here with 3 guests who are all involved in small businesses. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, welcome you, thank you for being here, and maybe we can go around the table and I can ask you to introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about what you do.
Sure. My name's Courtney Howell. My husband Terrence and I own Greats Cove Studios, and Greats Cove Studios has really become a business that is a place where we create and we welcome people in to experience what we're creating. We have an open studio restaurant where we offer Cajun and Creole foods that focus a lot on local seafood. We have accommodations where people can come in and experience the whole area of the Bacaloo Trail. And we're makers. We make art, we make product, and yeah, we spend our lives here.
Who's next?
Hi, I'm Pauline Sutton. I am owner of Jimmy's Place B&B in Beatty Verde. Along with the bed and breakfast, my daughter and I have a small catering license.
My name is Jennifer Sutton Walsh. As mentioned, I'm Pauline's daughter. Mom and Dad established the bed and breakfast several years ago. Recently, I've been able to step into the picture and help with some of the marketing and email correspondences, help with the calendars and organizations, the things that Mom tends not to enjoy.
So I want to know a little bit more about how you all got your start, because I understand nobody's been in this industry for a terribly long time. So Courtney, tell me a little bit about how you came to Greats Cove and started this business.
So I'm actually from South Louisiana. My husband Terrence is from here in Newfoundland. This is Greats Cove's the community where his dad was born. We lived in Louisiana for a number of years, always wanting to be in rural Newfoundland. We just, when it was the right time, we came. We knew if we wanted to live in rural Newfoundland, we would have to start a business. And so we came here in 2009 and just kind of began, not with a business plan, not knowing exactly the direction of everything, but just started. Terrence's background is in art and design, so we started with his work, and things just began from there. And when it was time, when it was the right time and it was needed, we started the restaurant after we bought this building, and things just kind of went from there.
And Pauline, I understand this is sort of your second career.
Yes. Yes, I worked at Crab Plant Quinlan Brothers in Beatty Verde for 33 years. And when I turned 50, I was having some health issues and had to give it up. So being still fairly young woman, I had to do something. Always been interested in tourism and love people. And as luck would have it, we had an old fishing shed next door that my husband housed his fishing gear in. And I said to him one night, I said, we're going to go up and clean out Jimmy's house. Jimmy was our neighbor. And we're going to turn it into a bed and breakfast.
Jen, how did you get roped in?
A lot of it happened from Mom's perspective. I'm talking actually because she don't prefer to work with computers, emails, correspondencing a lot, right? Because she's, well, one thing, she's really busy with other things, and it's hard to keep up with it all. So my free time, I would help her out with that when I lived in St. John's in Paradise, but it came to a point where I was almost determined to live around the bay again too. So I sort of fell into the role naturally, Mom having the business there and needing a second hand. So that's how that happened.
So why were you so determined to live around the bay again?
Well, myself and my husband, we lived in St. John's, St. John's Mount Pearl Paradise area for about 18 years or so. So we'd been in there quite a while, and we realized all the things that we enjoyed doing were associated with around the bay.
When you made the decision to move to rural Newfoundland, start a business, how did people around you react?
We were chatting about this a few minutes ago. I think, you know, when you're a person who is going to start a business, like Terrence and I, we are the ones who, and I said we didn't have like a business plan in the beginning, but we had a vision.
Yeah.
not everybody's going to see that vision, and they're going to be worried about you, especially if you have an infant in tow. But when you're determined, like Jen said, to live where you want to live, you know you just have to do what you need to do to get through that. And I think because, you know, Terrence especially has a very creative mind, I think we just opened ourselves up to that creativity to get ourselves established. And I think now that we're on, you know, a few years into this, people can maybe see what we had been envisioning and are not as scared for us. But it's nice to have that support and concern, because, I mean, when you're starting a new business, you just have to get through that beginning. So nice to have a supportive family around you.
Did Pauline, did people react that way to you too when you said, I'm going to turn this fish shed into a B&B?
They thought we were off our heads. They thought we were nuts. I remember Bob's family would come out from St. John's on the weekends, and they'd see a little bit more done, and they'd come in shaking their head. And
yes, the building was in such bad disrepair.
Yes.
I mean, there was no floorboards on the top level of, you know, the rooms, you know, so you couldn't even get up there because there was no floor in.
And they'd say, my God, what are you doing with your bit of money, putting it into this? But we persevered, we pushed through, and we got the necessary licensing, and we, like I said, we made it work.
Why? and I'm sure your family must have asked you that as well too. I mean, it sounds so difficult and challenging. Why go through all the trouble?
There's nothing wrong with a good challenge, is there? But I love people, and I saw a need in the area for a B&B. And I just kind of wanted to be the one to try and make it work, to try and do it.
Courtney, was there something that sort of gave you that push to take a risk and to try something new? Like what convinced you?
I think it was honestly knowing, you know, we chose to live here first. Like that was the thought, the first thought. And then we knew we had to start our own thing. It's our interest. Like the more years we're into this, you learn a lot about yourself when you start a business. Terrence and I learn a lot about ourselves as a couple and business partners. I'm realizing now it's just something that's in us.
A lot of hard work, obviously. I want to talk more about the sort of practical challenges of getting off the ground. We're going to take a break, and when we get back, we'll talk about what some of those challenges are and what could be done to make those a little bit easier. So that's what's coming up after the break. Stay with us. This is Undecided. Welcome back to Undecided. I'm Bailey White. It's time now for Fantasy Premier. So Fantasy Premier is this question I've been asking everybody here on Undecided. We're talking about an election and in the context of your industry and what you do and what your life is all about, what do you need from a premier? Like, what would make a really good leader who will understand what you're up to out here and make it easier for you to do it?
Big question.
I think, like, because of the line of work that I'm in, you know, small business development is really important. And not just to me, like, it's needed, that kind of support that encourages small business development is needed all over Newfoundland. And what you're asking of people is to take risks and to be creative and innovative. And to be able to do that, you have to be at a place where you can do that. And I know it doesn't seem like it all connects, but I was thinking about that, you know, like if I had not been a place in my life where, you know, if my mental health wasn't, not that it's like the best, but you know, if I had had any severe issues, you know, mental health, physical health, if the new electricity rates were going to be too high, just those basic everyday factors, I would not have decided to take the risk. And I think if we're asking that of people, to be innovative, to be creative, and to invest and create small business, there has to be an atmosphere where it's doable to do that.
Pauline, what do you want out of a leader for the province?
We don't see too much of them around here anyway.
You want more exposure, you
yeah,
mean? Or
a bit more exposure. Like, the only time we see them really is election time. They're looking for your vote and, you know, photo op, but...
Yeah, I agree. It seems
like,
that...
they're not really accessible to us like that.
No, you'd like to see
You know?
something in a premier where I recognise that a lot of the businesses and hustle and bustle of the province is within St. John's and surrounding area. But geography, you know, the size of the island, there's a lot of people and a lot of places outside of the hustle and bustle that are trying to survive and trying to start up business. And you just want some recognition, that not even recognition, but maybe support that these things are happening and awareness for it, for everyone to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, a small business in Beatty Verde or Greats Cove, we have to follow the same standards, same rules, same licensing as a restaurant in St. John's. So, yeah, I think a little bit more exposure.
Yeah. With that being said, there is differences, though, with starting a business in St. John's and it is in Outports, but the fact that we fall under the same rules and regulations might be a limitation for us, right?
Is there any one thing, as you're thinking back to those difficult days of sort of starting up, is there anything that was particularly challenging or seemingly, you know, illogical, or like, why does it have to be this way, that would help if it could be changed for you or for the next person?
You know, there are programs out there that help with whether it's, you know, being able to take out affordable loans or, you know, whatever it is. But not every person who is interested in business knows about that, especially if you're interested in starting a small business. And we're not talking about business that is like, you know, like these huge industries. We're talking about businesses that you're doing to support your family.
Yes, like self-sufficient.
Yes. And so you're small,
right?
But you still need that access to and knowledge of what's out there to help grow that, and that helps reduce those fears of taking the risk.
You don't feel so alone, I guess.
You don't, and that we were talking about that too, how lonely the beginning feels.
Well, we still don't know what's out there, do we?
For a lot of it.
For a lot of it, we still don't know. I don't know
we've been
with
working
you, but
on
we've
it,
been working on it. But we're learning every day that this is available, this is available, this is available.
Well, and it sounds like, in just sort of eavesdropping on your conversation before the cameras started rolling and things of that nature, that when you come together, there's strength in that. So what do you see in the next, say, 5-10 years as your small businesses start to grow and develop, and you sort of get your feet under you and really understand, all that's possible?
I possibly see another B&B, 1, 2, 3 in Beatty Verde. I hope I'm right. I see small businesses cropping up, not just B&Bs, whether it be an ice cream store or
coffee
shop, artist studio, whatever. I feel very good about Beatty Verde and the surrounding area for the future.
And I think also we're at a time, and like we've known each other, but I feel like this past year, like we're really getting to know each other, and I think that just inherently you want to we want to support each other, whether and I think the way it came about is because during peak season, one business can only provide so much. So you're when you get to that place, you're like calling Pauline. You got rooms. Pauline, they want some fish and chips. Do you have availability tonight? It's just like having that open dialogue and partnership, and that is what's going to help grow.
It sounds like you're just getting started.
Totally.
Any regrets about making the leap into this small business world?
None whatsoever. No. It's been a fun ride. It's had its challenges, but it's okay. It's going to be even better. Yeah.
I want to thank you all for sitting down with me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. This is Undecided.
Welcome back to Here and Now. A popular children's cartoon started its latest season with an episode about a gay teacher getting married.
Who is Mr. Ratburn marrying? Ratburn is married. I still can't believe it.
Third grade teacher Mr. Ratburn got married to his true love on the show, which aired yesterday. And today, many on social media applauded. A spokesperson for public TV in the U.S. says the animated series tries to include, quote, the wide array of adults in the lives of children. Arthur has been shown in Canada and the U.S. since 1996. Very nice.
It is
and
nice.
what a nice photo that is. Oh my goodness.
I am covering it right now, but if we go full screen, you can see how absolutely gorgeous our weather photo is today. It is of a massive iceberg, and if you've been paying attention to social media at all, you probably know where this was taken. So it was actually taken in Little Bay Islands.
It looks like the ice wall from Game of Thrones. It looks ginormous.
Yeah, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I can assume that that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, Dan Rumble captured this absolutely stunning spot, or picture rather. I just can't believe it. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be looking at that one on social media for sure. And yeah, if anyone else has iceberg shots, please send them along. Looks gorgeous.
Yeah, for sure. And one quick thing, we're getting into that northeasterly swell, so over the next couple of days, we could see some more icebergs headed down, especially down through towards the Avalon. So definitely keep that in mind.
Oh, good to know. Well, that's it for our show tonight, everyone. Election Day on Thursday, just around the corner. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.